My name's Dan. I'm 44. I work in industrial logistics, not glamorous but solid. Stable. I like things that hold weight. I married Sarah 6 years ago. She had 2 kids, Tyler and Holly. I said yes to all 3. I meant it. I moved in, shouldered what was left behind, and never once reminded them they weren't mine. The biological dad? A rumor. A photograph on the fridge that eventually curled at the corners and vanished. No calls. No child support. No presents. And somehow he still got to keep the title. Tyler was 12 when I came in. Holly, 10. At first they were quiet. Standoffish. I expected that. I told myself, give it time. Respect is earned, not given. It was the kind of thing people say when they want to believe love is just a matter of patience. I waited. For 6 years I paid for everything. And I mean everything. School fees, medical bills, groceries, trips, gifts, soccer uniforms, braces, phone upgrades, SAT tutoring. I'm the one who made sure Sarah could go part-time when her health dipped. I'm the one who paid the extra when the college savings weren't enough. I'm the reason they stayed in Portland after the landlord tried to raise rent. I negotiated and I covered the difference. When Tyler got into college, it was my name that sealed the FAFSA. My tax returns. My income. Not his dad's. Mine. And I didn't do it for credit. But I did think it meant something. Until the night the mask fell. It was a Wednesday. I'd just gotten home. 6:42 p.m. Jacket still on. Dirt on my boots from the shipping yard. I sat down at the kitchen table with my phone and a lukewarm dinner Sarah had covered in foil. No one said much. Tyler was upstairs gaming. Holly had earbuds in. Sarah scrolled through her tablet like she was allergic to eye contact. Nothing new. Then it came, a notification. Group chat. I hadn't seen the name before, so I tapped it open. The Real Fam 100 points. The icon was an old beach photo. Everyone in swimwear. No sign of me. Just Sarah and the kids, younger, tanner, smaller smiles. Tyler's hair still shaggy. Holly had braces back then. Must have been before I entered the picture. I scrolled. Years of messages. Thousands. Inside jokes. Plans. Complaints. Birthday photos, one of them holding up a cake I'd paid for. Another thread discussing what to get from him this year. I kept reading. Then I stopped. Tyler. He's just mom's backup wallet. Sarah. Don't piss him off. He's still paying the bills. My thumb froze on the screen. The room tilted. That sentence. Casual, almost bored. Stripped the skin off every memory I'd built with them. Every dinner, every trip, every hard conversation I'd had with teachers, doctors, counselors. All of it flattened into 2 lines of text. Dropped between a meme and a grocery list. And Sarah. My wife. My partner. The person who cried in my arms when Holly got suspended for vaping. The woman who told me I was the real dad because I showed up when he didn't. The one who once kissed my fingers when I wired her the down payment for the family car. She'd written that. Not under duress. Not in a fight. Just casually, like it was obvious. Like that was my place. The financial fallback. Technical support with a credit limit. I sat there for a long time. The air felt heavy. My food had gone cold. My breath was shallow, like my lungs didn't trust the room anymore. Upstairs, I could hear Tyler laughing through his headset. Loud, thoughtless laughter. The kind you only let out when you think the walls around you are safe. I thought about the weird things I'd ignored over the years. The little cracks I plastered over. Like how Tyler never called me stepdad. Never even tried. I didn't push it. I figured maybe he needed time. Maybe he'd come around. When he was 16 and I offered to co-sign on a used car loan, he didn't thank me. Didn't even look at me. Just took the keys and drove off. That was a Tuesday. I remember because I had a meeting that day I left early for. My boss wasn't thrilled. I remember Sarah making excuses for him that night. He's just under pressure. You know how teens are. I knew how teens were. But I also knew what being invisible felt like. Then there was Holly. Sweet, clever Holly when she wanted something. She called me Dan, always Dan, never anything more. But she bragged about the real dad, the one who sent $50 gift cards once a year. Showed them off like gold bars. "Look what Dad sent me," she'd say. She never called him Todd. Always Dad. Even though he never once attended a parent-teacher night or called when she had pneumonia. She loved to say things like, "My dad says I should try piano again." Or, "My dad says college isn't everything." I'd be sitting 2 feet away, the one paying for her piano tutor and her early enrollment classes. She never said what I thought. And Sarah, her silence was a sound I stopped noticing. When money came up, she got slippery. Couldn't meet my eyes. Would trail off into murmurs like, "You don't have to, but it'd really help if you could." I said yes every time. I remember once we were arguing over budget stuff, trying to sort summer plans. She sighed and said, "Can't we just use your card for this? It's easier." I brushed past it. Now I know what she meant. Easier. Like using a vending machine. So I sat there, staring at the chat, watching myself get reduced to a paycheck in real time. Tyler sent that message 2 days ago. No one corrected him. No one disagreed. They just kept talking. Jokes, memes, plans. They're real family. Not once in 6 years was I invited into that space. Not once was I asked to be part of that joke, that bond, that layer of trust. I was the scaffolding, the infrastructure, a man behind the curtain making sure the lights stayed on while they performed family without me. And the worst part? I let it happen, because I wanted to believe that love, given long enough, would become mutual. That effort would earn affection. That sacrifice would plant roots. I see now that what I called love, they called utility. They let me believe I belonged. They even praised me, but only when it was convenient. When they needed something fixed, or bought, or defended. The rest of the time, I was the guy they humored. Polite intruder. A walking debit card in a tool belt. I put the phone down, slowly, like it might explode. I looked around the room, at the living room I painted, the table I assembled, the shelves I hung. I saw fingerprints on the windows, dents in the drywall, shoes kicked under the bench. All the signs of a family. But not my family. I had bought my way into someone else's photograph. And they never meant to keep me in it. I didn't confront them that night. That surprised even me. I didn't slam the phone down or storm upstairs. I didn't demand explanations or apologies that wouldn't have been real anyway. I sat there until the house went quiet, until the laughter upstairs thinned into silence and the pipes hummed like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I went to my office and shut the door. Not hard, just enough to hear the click. I sat down at the desk where I'd paid their bills for 6 years and opened a folder I hadn't touched in a long time. Receipts, transfers, statements. Every sacrifice neatly time-stamped and categorized. I hadn't kept them out of paranoia. I kept them because that's who I am. Order, proof, accountability. What I felt wasn't rage yet. It was something colder, like grief without the tears. The next morning I called a lawyer, old friend of a colleague. Quiet voice, no drama. I told him I needed to know where I stood. Legally, financially, emotionally was already settled. I emailed him everything. Tuition invoices, rent transfers, insurance policies, credit card statements, college housing deposits, groceries, travel, thousands upon thousands, layered year by year. The cost of being family. He didn't interrupt while I talked. When I finished, there was a pause. Then he said, "You know you're under no obligation to keep paying, right?" I said I did now. He scrolled through the documents while I sat there, listening to the low hum of my computer fan. After a few minutes, he said something that snapped the last thread of doubt I had left. "You could file for reimbursement. Not all of it, but a significant portion, especially the post-marriage expenses. With interest." Interest. That word landed heavy. Not because of the money, but because it meant something else entirely. It meant the law recognized what they didn't. That what I'd done wasn't charity. It was contribution. And contribution came with weight. I told him to proceed. 1 week later, the envelope arrived. Sarah opened it in the kitchen. I was there. I wanted to be. Her face changed as she read. First confusion, then anger, then something close to panic. She stormed into the living room like I'd committed a crime. "Have you lost your mind?" she yelled. "What is this? Are you trying to destroy us?" I didn't raise my voice. I handed her my phone. The screenshots. The messages. Her words. Tyler's words. She didn't look at them for long. She didn't need to. She knew. "You went through my messages?" she said. Like that was the betrayal. "They added me," I replied. "By accident. Like everything else." She tried to pivot. Tried to cry. Tried to explain context. Humor. Kids being stupid. I didn't argue. For the first time in 6 years, I didn't defend myself. I didn't soften. I just stood there while the truth filled the room and had nowhere to go. Tyler wandered in halfway through, earbuds still in. "What's going on?" I told him, calmly. Showed him the numbers. Tuition. Rent. Insurance. I tapped the screen and said, "That meme you sent? It just cost you $300. And that's before interest." He laughed at first. A short, nervous sound. "It was just a joke." I looked at him and said, "Jokes don't come with invoices. This does." That's when the shock finally hit them. Not emotional shock. Financial shock. The kind that rattles bones. They thought I was reacting. Emotional. Hurt. That I'd cool down. That I'd do what I always did. Cover it. They didn't understand yet that this wasn't anger. This was correction. And correction doesn't reverse itself. It started with a text from Sarah. "We need to talk. All of us." I replied with one word. "Okay." She called it a family meeting. That's how she framed it. Neutral. Safe. But the minute I stepped into the living room, I knew what it really was. A trial. Tyler sat with his arms crossed. Hoodie pulled tight like it was armor. Holly, eyes flicking everywhere but mine. Legs curled under her on the couch like a child pretending not to exist. Sarah was pacing. And to complete the performance, she'd brought in reinforcements. Her mother on one end of the phone speaker, her brother on Zoom, choppy audio and judgmental eyebrows. I stood. They all sat. That was the first image. One man against a jury of 5. Sarah opened with a practiced tone, voice trembling just enough to look innocent. "We just want to understand what's happening, Dan. This doesn't feel like you." No one mentioned the texts. No one mentioned Tyler's meme or her response. As if it had been edited out of the script. They all had their lines. "You're the adult here. They're just kids. You know teenagers talk like that. They didn't mean it. You've always been so generous. Why change now?" And then the one that landed hardest. "You're being petty." That came from Sarah's mother. Said in a brittle voice over speakerphone, from a house I helped pay to renovate. I didn't yell. I didn't shake. I let them finish. Every word. Every rationalization. Every piece of manufactured guilt. Then I asked one question. "Can any of you honestly say I was ever more than a wallet to this family?" Silence. I waited. No one answered. Not Tyler. Not Holly. Not Sarah. Not her mother. Not the brother who suddenly lost his Wi-Fi connection. No one said, "You're wrong." So I said, "You defined my role. I'm just living up to it." Then I added, "And it's going to cost more now than it ever did before." And I walked out. That night they didn't speak to me. The silence wasn't new, but it was heavier. Before, the silence was passive. Now it was tense. Now it had corners. The first ripple came 3 days later. Tyler asked Sarah if she could transfer money for his car insurance. She hesitated, looked toward me, didn't say a word. He repeated himself. "Mom," she mumbled. "You'll need to get a job, Ty." He blinked. "Are you serious?" "I can't cover that," she said. "He's not." Then she stopped. She never finished the sentence. By the end of the week, Tyler had taken a part-time job at a cafe. Minimum wage. 4-hour shifts. He came home sweaty and confused, like the idea of effort was new to him. I watched from the porch as he slammed the car door with more force than necessary and muttered something about stupid customers. Meanwhile, Holly tried to buy music online and found her subscription canceled. Her voice echoed from upstairs. What the hell? I heard Sarah sigh. He doesn't have to pay for it anymore. The line was surgical. Honest. Final. I could have reinstated it. It would have taken 30 seconds. One login, one click. I didn't. Days passed. Then a letter arrived. Official envelope. Heavy paper. Return address stamped from the courthouse. Sarah was the one who opened it. I wasn't in the room when she read it, but I heard her reaction from 3 doors away. A gasp. Then footsteps. Then the sound of something falling, paper or maybe hope. She found me in the garage, where I was tightening a shelf that had been wobbling for months. You filed? She asked. I didn't look up. Yes. You're suing me? I'm not suing you. I'm asking the court to recognize a debt that's been ignored for 6 years. She raised the paper in shaking hands. Do you know how this looks? Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? I tightened the screw. I know exactly how it looks. It looks like someone is finally holding you accountable. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stood there, stunned. Then, softly, they're just kids. I finally turned to her. And what are you? She didn't answer. The house changed after that. Sarah stopped speaking unless it was necessary. Tyler barely came home between classes and shifts. Holly stayed locked in her room, earbuds in, door closed. The things I used to do without thinking: refill the fridge, cover late bills, check the thermostat before a storm, stopped. I let the trash pile up. I let the fridge run low. I watched to see who would step up. No one did. I became a tenant in my own life, present but uninvolved, watching the infrastructure I'd built slowly decay in my absence. And it didn't take long for them to feel it. Sarah asked if we could talk privately. I agreed. She waited until the kids were out. She made coffee. She sat across from me like it was a negotiation. I've been thinking, she said, about the house. Your name's not on the title yet. Maybe we could fix that. I looked at her. Is this an apology? She hesitated. It's an offer. I'm not buying respect, Sarah. I already paid for that. In full. A few nights later, Holly left a note on the kitchen counter. Folded. Written in purple pen. Dan, I know I've been a jerk. I didn't mean all that stuff. I was wrong. I'm sorry. She didn't sign it love, Holly. Just H. I didn't throw it away. But I didn't respond either. Because it wasn't an apology. It was fear wearing guilt's face. 2 days after that, Tyler came out back while I was fixing the backyard fence. He stood awkwardly by the gate, hands stuffed in his hoodie. Hey, he said. I didn't stop working. He kicked the dirt. So, I'm sorry. Okay. It got out of hand. We were just messing around. I looked up. You made it clear I'm just a wallet. He shrugged. That's not what I meant. I stood and wiped my hands on my jeans. But it's what you said. You defined me. Now you get to live with it. He left without another word. By the end of the month, the courthouse date was set. Sarah tried one last time to delay it. She asked me if we could mediate instead. I said no, because this wasn't about negotiation anymore. This was about truth. And truth, like debt, demands to be paid. Tyler came home from work with blisters on his hands. I saw him washing them in the sink, wincing when the soap hit raw skin. The cafe had put him on dish duty double shift. He hadn't said a word to me in 5 days. That night, he left his apron on the table. Walked out back. I was fixing the fence again. I think I kept breaking it on purpose. He stood there, eyes low. Not a boy anymore, not yet a man. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't answer. I mean it. I wiped sweat from my brow and kept working. Nails. Wood. Simple things that don't lie to you. I shouldn't have said what I said. It wasn't fair. I looked at him. Not angry. Not moved. Just tired. You said what you believed. That's fairer than anything else. He shook his head. I didn't mean it. I leveled my gaze. You meant it enough to type it. And your mother agreed. That's the part you keep leaving out. He didn't have an answer for that. No one ever does. The court date was approaching. Sarah stopped pretending it wasn't real. She started leaving paperwork around the house. Passive offers. Joint ownership. Early inheritance. Spousal adjustments. Words dressed like generosity, but bleeding fear. She even suggested we move. Start over. She didn't understand. I wasn't punishing her. I was correcting her story. One morning she sat beside me at the kitchen table, holding her phone like it was a shield. I can put the house in your name, she said. Fully. No conditions. I sipped my coffee. Why now? Because I know what this looks like, and I don't want you to think you were just a placeholder. I looked at her. You laughed. In that chat. You typed it. You hit send. Her hands trembled. I wasn't thinking. You were thinking clearly enough to warn him not to piss off the wallet. Then came the email. Holly. Subject line. I'm sorry. No greeting. No sign-off. Just 6 paragraphs of delayed guilt. She wrote that she missed our game nights. That she regretted saying Dad in front of me when she talked about someone who didn't call, didn't write, didn't care. She said she wished she could take it back. She ended with, I don't blame you, but I hope you don't hate me. I didn't reply, because hate isn't the opposite of love. Indifference is. The court papers were official now. Sarah's lawyer reached out with a settlement offer. She'd pay back part of the expenses, a fraction, and asked me to waive interest. For the sake of peace, she said. I declined. Peace had a price. It was backdated 6 years with compounding silence. Tyler's tuition defaulted. He had to file a deferral. His father, the real one, didn't return the call. The backup wallet was no longer accepting swipes. Holly's extracurriculars collapsed. No more rides. No more music lessons. No more birthday money quietly transferred at 1 a.m. While she slept, Sarah's mother called once. Left a voicemail. I hope you're proud. You've embarrassed this family. I saved it. Listened to it 3 times. Laughed once. Because it was the first time she called it my family. And the last. Sarah asked if I would at least talk to the kids before the hearing. Why? I said. They need closure. I nodded. So do I. The night before court, I cooked dinner. First time in a month. Roast chicken, garlic mash, green beans, the kind of meal I used to make when we still played pretend. They all sat, quiet, watching me. I served them, ate with them. No one spoke until halfway through. Tyler said, Are you really going to go through with it? I nodded. Holly whispered, But we said sorry. I looked at her. Do you know what the word sorry means? She didn't answer. It means you regret something, but regret is cheap. You can feel it without ever changing. Sarah tried to reach across the table. I pulled my hand back. I paid for a family, I said. What I got was a transaction, a silent agreement. I give, you take. But the contract expired. She whispered, We needed you. I needed respect. The table went still. Tyler stared at his plate. Holly blinked hard to hide the shine in her eyes. I stood, took my plate to the sink, washed it, dried it, like I'd done 100 times before. But this time I didn't clean theirs. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Simple chairs, pale walls, the kind of space where truth sounds louder. Sarah sat across from me, hands folded. Her lawyer whispered in her ear. Mine said nothing. He didn't have to. The numbers spoke. Years of spreadsheets, expenses, evidence, the shape of sacrifice drawn in digital ink. The judge looked at the documents, then at me. Why now? He asked. I answered clearly, because it took me 6 years to hear what they were saying behind my back. He nodded, didn't ask again. Sarah cried. Holly wouldn't meet my eyes. Tyler sat with his jaw clenched, still waiting for someone else to pay. The ruling came fast. Partial reimbursement. Payment plan. No interest but recognition. Official. Public. Irrefutable. When it ended, Sarah approached me in the hallway. This can't be how it ends. It already ended, I said. This is just the receipt. The payments started the next month. Small amounts. A reminder, not a reward. Tyler dropped out of college. started working full-time. Holly stopped asking for extras. Sarah moved in with her mother. Said it was temporary. That was a year ago. I live alone now. The house is quiet. I fix things when they break. I replace light bulbs without asking. I mow the lawn. Not for anyone else. Just because I like the smell of cut grass. Sometimes people ask me if I miss them. I say no. What I miss never existed. They call sometimes. Not often. Birthdays. Holidays. Guilt wrapped in nostalgia. I answer, but I don't linger. They ask how I'm doing. I say, better. They never ask why. Because deep down they know the answer. Better is what happens when the bleeding stops. Now I sit with one question left. A question I can't answer even after all this time. Was I wrong? To stop paying. To walk away. To treat respect like currency and collect what I was owed? Or was that the only lesson they would ever learn? That when you treat a man like a wallet, don't be surprised when he finally closes? So I ask you, would you have stayed? Would you have kept paying, even when they spent your name like it meant nothing? Or would you have done what I did? Walked away, and sent them the bill?